Welcome back to the Angry Teacher channel. I'm Richard Williams, the Angry Teacher. And today we're going to be looking at 6 quick strategies for building vocabulary in our students. No matter what grade level, no matter what content area you teach. If this sounds like something you are excited about, then by all means stick around to the end. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for the next dope Angry Teacher educational video. If it's something that you're not too into, you can click out. But before you do the same thing. Like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. But then come back for other videos, because you know everything pertaining to education and you are in this video. There's some fun stuff in there too, like my graduation video for this year. Check it out, okay? School beans, cool beans. All right, let's get into it. Now, these are 6 strategies that you may use. You don't have to use all of them. You don't have to use all of them all the time. But I'll let you know now. I've used all of them at some point. And there's some that that get a lot more traction out of me for my kids. I teach 11th and 12th from a different range, the whole gamut rather of those English classes. And so these come in handy at different points throughout the year, different points throughout a lesson. And so I'm just going to share some of these with you. Number 1, rhythm and rhyme it. Now, after I've taught a certain type of poetry, I have them write their own version of that poem, their own interpretation of that poem, if you will. And they have to include at least 2 or 3 of the vocabulary words that we have for those 2 weeks. I should preface this list by saying I do give my kids a list of prescribed vocabulary, whether it's pertaining to something that we've read or just words in general. And so they have, every 2 weeks I change the list, so they'll be exposed to the words. Now, once again, I think I've made a video about this before, but do I expect them to know all these words all the time? No, nobody knows the meaning to every word all the time. And it's just to have them know how to access and how to develop a learning and comprehension and searching for the meaning of these words. So I give them a list every 2 weeks, and so while we're working on something, if the activity calls for them to rewrite a poem, then I force them, or I ask them to give me at least 2 words in that poem that they'd have to find context to be able to use it correctly in that poem, or in, a song, if you will. All right? So that's what you can do, rhythm and rhyme it. Let students choose their own vocabulary, anything that's unclear to them. Now, as I said before, I give a list. Some teachers have a word wall, and so those are the words that the kids are looking for. But while reading, some kids still won't understand some of the other words that you take for granted because you know, and some of the other kids may know, but there are few who may not. So have them choose and keep their own running tally of words they don't know. I have in every one of my lesson activities products I own a TPT store, and I'll drop the link down below so you can check it out. In every one of my lesson activities, there's a vocabulary activity, new vocabulary, so they can fill out their own chart and figure out, how do I use this word, or what's the definition and what's the context? How many definitions are there to this word? And so if I'm reading something with the class, and the class for the most part gets it and moves on to something else, that kid who is working and still didn't understand a couple of the words that everybody else took for granted, they can just, add that to their list, and we can work through it. I have the kind of environment I have, the kids ask me, they can ask out loud if they don't understand the word, and then we'll have a little bit of a conversation, look at the context. Is it positive or negative? Is there something that was said prior to or after that we can kind of put together the meaning of the word? And so let them choose their unclear words. We don't know every word they don't know. As a matter of fact, some of those word walls or some of those lists that we give them, some of the kids already know these words. We want them to develop a love for words, and words that they don't know, they can always try to find a way to figure it out. Vocabulary cards, number 3. We can create those for these kids. Now, for my every 2 weeks, I give them a list of about 20 words, and for the most part, every set of lists has vocabulary words. Once again, you can check that out in my store for vocabulary. With that said, I print up the sheets, cut them up, put them in a little baggie, and then I will put it in the front of the room. When they come in, that's their class opener. That's their bell ring. When they sit in the front, when they sit on the stool, they know, let me grab one of these and I'll be working on them. Now it has a word, I don't know if you can see it, it has a word that all the 20 words are cut up in here. At least every word has 2 cards with 2 questions per card. When they'll pick it out on Monday, they'll have a word. For example, this word is megalomania, and then they have 2 questions that refer to that word, and so they're working on that for that time of the day, and they can figure it out and move on. So now they have a little bit more of an understanding of megalomania. Then once they're done with that, Tuesday, if I give them again on Tuesday or Wednesday, they'll find another word, and so they'll have 2 questions based on that word, and it helps them. It's easy. You can do it as an exit ticket as well. If you have words that you've identified from the reading, and once again, this doesn't have to be English. If you've identified words from the reading, and you can make your little baggie, your vocabulary cards, and then as they leave, they'll be able to answer questions based on how the context was used in class. Love these little guys. Use new vocabulary in conversations in class. When I'm talking to them, they're working on an assignment and I bring something up, or they bring something up and they want to ask me something, I'll try to find one of the words from my 20 on that list, so they'll have to, Miss Owens, I don't know what that means. Look it up, I gave you the list. Or somebody else will chime in with whatever the response was. Or if I'm walking by and they're working, and I'll tell them, remember when we did X and we talked about megalomania or whatever. They'll have to go back to figure out what this word means, and so they'll understand how it's used, they'll understand the context of the word. When they're speaking to you, in some of the class assignments, it's mandatory that they have to use at least 1 vocabulary word in the discussion. I'm walking around and I'm listening to it, making sure that the context is correct, that the pronunciation is correct, and I might even just ask them to spell it, just to make sure that they are on point with the vocabulary. So have them use it in conversation, discussions, and a part of their everyday lives. Number 5, use it in writing. I will say it's become taboo to have kids write sentences, and sentences are a no-no. But when I was growing up, we had to write sentences, and I had to learn the meaning of the words to be able to use the correct context so the sentence makes sense. So if you are a teacher who does that, kudos. If you're not, kudos. We'll figure out how to use it. What I do is, if they're responding in a paragraph to anything that we've read, then you have to incorporate at least 1 or 2 vocabulary words. So they still have to figure out how to use the word and the meaning and the context and how it works together with whatever their topic is or whatever they're trying to say. With that said, if you do choose to give them sentences that they have to use it in their writing, then you will see the development. Sometimes they start off really trite, or they'd even get it from dictionary.com or some online platform and copy and paste. But after a while, you'll start to see how their sentences develop, how their use of the words develop, and they'll make it more personal. When I was blah blah blah, my mom did this and she said I was blah blah blah, because they're learning how to use the words. A little practice wouldn't hurt. Now, and number 6, give an official list. Now, yes, we want them to choose their own words that they don't know. That's a given. Once again, we as teachers will not know every word a kid does not know. We only have them for a year. We as teachers do not know every word. Kids, we don't expect kids to know every word. So they can also make their own list. But officially, I have to make sure you know a certain number of words. You need to know these kind of words before you leave. So with that said, I'll give you an official list. My 20 words per 2 weeks, you'll be able to know that when you leave this room, there's some words here that you'll hear again. You'll see in another class, on a text, or somebody will speak to you and you'll hear these words. With that said, I have gotten to the point where I'm giving you the definition of the words and the parts of speech. Now, if you're a science teacher or if you are a math teacher, you don't necessarily have to do the parts of speech part, obviously. But I give the definition and the part of speech. So when they're using it, they understand context, they understand the word. They understand, if I look up this word and I see the first definition, that's not necessarily the one I need to use because it has several other definitions, right? So there's that. However, I have, because I teach AP and honors and dual enrollment, all that other stuff, I give them, sometimes I give them blank lists. So I give them the word, but the lists don't have the definitions, so they'll have to look those up. So you can allot time for that, or you and in science or history, you can have them do that. You can allot time, like in the beginning of the day, the end of the day, homework assignment, classwork assignment, if you finish early assignment, whatever kind of assignment you want to do, have them look the words up. When they look it up, they have to type in or write in the definitions, and so it becomes a part of them. They are part of the process, and so they do a good job of finding the right context, or finding the right definition to use. I'm looking up this word. No, it's a science class, so the word I need, the definition I need is the third one, not the first, and so on and so forth. So make sure you give them a list. Make sure they know that these are words I'm looking for. I even have a part of my exams where it's vocabulary. I know it's taboo as well, but after they've written with it so often, and we've talked with the word, and we've made assignments with the word, and we've done all these things, and we've done a vocabulary cards, then when I give you a section of my exams that use the word in context, and you have to choose the right word to complete the sentence, then it makes sense to you because you already know what the word means. All right, so those are 6 strategies, really quick ones. You don't have to overthink or stress over it, because they're really quick to infuse in your lessons to teach kids vocabulary, no matter what the grade level, no matter what the class, no matter what level of kids you have. All right, so go out there, make it a great day. I love you all to death. Check out the next videos because it will be dope.